Hi.
Everyone, welcome to tonight's class. So if you're here, you can go ahead and drop a message on the Discord server so that others can join in. The instructor is already on the call. We have Abdul Gafar. He's a senior backend engineer. Yeah, he's a senior engineer, and he's based in Lagos, Nigeria. So Abdul Gafar, you have the floor.
Okay, hi. Hi, everyone. Just a slight correction. I'm based in Abuja right now, though, yeah, my head office is in Lagos, but thanks to remote work, I'm currently based in
Oh, okay.
Abuja. Okay, yeah, nice having you guys, and I'm guessing you
All right.
can see my screen. Can everyone see my screen? If you can
Yes,
just
I can see.
comment. Okay. Okay. Oops. What am I doing? Okay, present, share screen, share screen, share screen. Okay, okay, okay. Looking to handle the introduction to databases. Primarily, we'll be looking into MongoDB. So, database is a way of organizing our data, way of storing them in a way where we can easily access it, we can easily read through and pick out information from it, right? Um, so it helps us get proper, efficient storage. Based on the database structure, you know how you're going to store the data. That's it's quite easy and efficient to read from it. Retrieval, you can do data retrieval from it, and you can manipulate the data that is currently on it. We have two types primarily, SQL and NoSQL. SQL, structured query language. The thing about structured query language is that it's got columns that are specific, that are fixed. So, take for instance, you want to create a table. You have to create a table for users. There is a specific structure your table would follow, and every user that you're going to enter into that table must have each of those columns. A user, for instance, let's say you have first a column for first name, a column for last name, a column for age, a column for gender. Take for instance, let's just use that. For every user you're going to enter into that table, into that database, into that table, they must have a first name, a last name, an age, and a gender. Any can be missing, yeah, depending on your constraints, but you can't. There can't be a new field added to it, except you change the structure of the table. The table is structured, so you have to change the structure of the table before you can add any new field. In the case of NoSQL, like it says, it's not structured. This stores data in form of it could be a key value structure where there's a key and there's a value to it. An example of that is Redis. It's used for light data structure. For instance, the authorization key. Maybe once you learn about authorization, you can easily say, okay, this user, this is the authorization key, or this authorization key is tied to this user. The key can be the authorization key, and the user's name can be the value. When you person wants to log out, just find this authorization key and remove it. When the person wants to log in, just insert a new key value. Another NoSQL type is MongoDB. MongoDB actually stores data as if they were documents. So I can take a single user, for instance. The user has a first name, has a last name, has an age, has a school, has a has a location, has a country. These are like five fields I've listed. I take up that whole details of the user, insert it as a single document into my table. In case of MongoDB, we call it collection, into my collection. I can have another user. Maybe he doesn't have a, well, for some reason he has, maybe like Kanye West that has only Ye as his name. So he can have only first name, age, maybe school is not part of it, so school is not in the structure. Rather than school, he has a job, for instance, maybe a career, he's a musician. You see that the structure of this second data is totally different, can be totally different from the structure of the first data or the first document. So, what this entails is that it's not structured. Put in your document, it will always have an ID. You can search for that ID. I'll return the document for you, and you iterate through the details as is. Right. Um, Typically, MongoDB, well, is a NoSQL. Its document is stored in form of JSON. I don't know if any of you have an idea what JSON is. Please, if there's any question, you can drop on the comment, or if there's any immediate thing you want to ask before the end of this, you can drop on the comments. And hope everyone can hear me though. Just one confirmation that I am being heard.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Okay, so going on. So MongoDB is a NoSQL type of database.
We can. I can hear you, and I believe
All
everyone
right.
can hear you.
All right. It stores its data in a JSON-like document, and the schemas, the structure of the tables are dynamic, like I've just described. It allows for easy horizontal scalability, or it's for horizontal scalability in the sense that we could add another node, another node. We can have like multiple nodes, one node carrying five users, another node carrying another five users, another node carrying another five users, because they are not in a single table tied to a particular structure. You can easily search for a particular document knowing that this guy would be located in this node, and you go and get everything about that document from that node. uh of course, the data model is flexible, like we mentioned. Installing MongoDB, I think I would probably be sharing this document, but there are already set out instructions on installing it on both Windows, Linux, Mac, and there is also a MongoDB cluster, a free MongoDB cluster called Atlas. It's provided by MongoDB. It allows you can easily get your credentials from it and log on to it and access your database as will. Connect your application to the database. Use it for your tests. Of course, if you are growing into production, you'll be looking to pay because it will be growing larger and so on. Okay. Just a few uh instructions in MongoDB that would run through. I have a free online tool I use in querying it that I'm going to use to show through. So typically, I want to create a collection for users. For instance, the instruction to do that, db.create collection. Let me run it through so we can actually see what's going on. So this is actually a MongoDB terminal. It's online. I'll share the link. You can also use it to play around with MongoDB before actually developing applications with it. It's free to use. So I want to create a new collection called users, right? Where I'm going to store the different users into. So I come here, say db dot create collection. I don't know, can you guys see what I am writing, or is it too? Let me see whether I can increase the size. Okay, this should be
Okay,
better.
it's tiny. Can you zoom in a bit? Thank you.
I have. Is it better now?
No, still zoom in a bit. Yeah, this is better.
Okay. Okay, so DB creates collection. Let me create a collection called users. Close this. So my collection has been created. Now I want to insert a new user into my collection. My collection's name is users, right? I do db dot users dot insert one. Um, let's make use of. Okay, so we have our curly braces is what our JSON data is going to be making use of. So this first user has a name. The name is Maka. She has a person she's in. Okay, let's go with gender female. Um, okay, I think this is fine. And I of course insert this knowledge. So my newly inserted document has an ID. This is the ID, right? Let me insert another person. db.users.insert one. Let me insert myself. Name Abdul. Instead of gender, I decide to do location. See that with this now, the structures are not the same. This one has a gender, female. This one, rather than gender, it's location. There could be various reasons why you have your data structured in various ways, not fixed in a particular way. So location, Abuja. Yeah, yeah. So we have two objects inserted into here. We can do a count of the number of items in a particular collection. So db.users.count, and that shows two. If you recall, we've inserted two. We can search for a particular, we can look for a particular object, which is called querying. We can query for a particular object. Let's take, for instance, we want to use the name to query and to query our DB. So we can do db dot users. Is the users collection we are searching through. Find, because we don't know any other details apart from the name. So we do name. We are looking for Abdul, for instance. Close this. Close this. So it prints out the object Abdul. You can see more details of the object here, right here. So that's insert. That's a count. We can do an update as well. So in the case of an update, we want to set a particular, let's assume I have relocated from Abuja, I'm now in London. So we do db dot users. Users is the collection, so you always specify the collection you want to, your operation is on. db dot users dot update one. um the first part of your update is what you are querying it. You want to update a particular object. You need to give it something to use to find that object. Take for instance, in my own case, I want you to update an object that has name Abdul. So name Abdul. Now what do I want to set is the next part. I want to set this into it. I want to set location to now be London or Canada. I don't like London. Okay, close my query. So if you can see my this thing now, I have update one. The first part of the update is a query to know which particular object I'm trying to change, I'm trying to edit, I'm trying to update. And the second part, I'm setting, and inside the set, listen, one the fields that I want to set, I specify them and put the new values I want to put into them. I put it there. So we do this. What's this? Property idea shell. What property is wrong? Um, just a minute. I think I'm not closing something properly. Okay, I think I'm not closing something properly. Okay, I think I can do without the sets. Because some of the versions actually use sets for it. I actually do need the sets. So why is this query failing? Is location not? I have a location as a field. The name Abdul. Dollar sets. Set for this thing. Okay, I think I'll find the correction of that. Find the correct one, the correct syntax to use here. Then, of course, you can decide to delete a particular query. Sorry, particular object from the collection. Users dot delete. You can do delete many and then add a query to it that would set what you want to delete. So again, I want to query by name, and let's say I want to delete Abdul this time around. Close it. So that's acknowledged, deleted, count one. So I can redo my count db dot users dot count, and I should have only one left. So I added two, and after the delete, I should have only one left. So yeah, these are basic instructions in MongoDB that you can play around, use to insert objects into your collection, and of course manipulate the objects, search through for certain objects, and delete certain objects. Of course, your collections, this is just one collection. You can have different types of collections in a single database. I can have a collection now. I have users here. I can have another collection for um, maybe post. Let's assume I'm doing a blog, for instance. I can have a collection for posts. I can decide to actually use the user's collection, and a post object will be inside the user's collection. So remember, it's not structured. So Amaka here has name, gender. Post can be an additional field that is here for it. So of course, then in insert here we are doing an insert one. You can actually decide to insert multiple at a single time. In that case, you use insert many. So let's still work on these users. Insert many. Um, name Kanye. Uh, how old is he? Location. I think he's in the US. So if he has moved out. Occupation. He's a musician. Okay. Then on that note, I can add another user whose name is let's just say mm, Salah. I hope some few people here watch football. Occupation in this guy's case is footballer. Yeah. So with this now, I'm inserting more than one at a time. You could continue, have a comma, add another database, add the comma, add another database. For this one, I can have wage as inclusive of it, or and his wage is maybe 150,000. I don't know. It might be more than that. Kanye, on the other hand, we didn't add wage to his, but this guy has wage in his. So that still talks about how the documents could actually come with their different structures depending on what you're trying to achieve. So insert many. Hmm, have I not closed something properly? Hmm, Recruit API. Yes. Documents.map is not a function. Name is Salah. Location US. That location. Occupation footballer. Wage. Let's put the string. So insert many. It's actually the first document is closed, comma separated. Second document. Oh, okay, sorry. This is actually an array of documents. So I don't know if we've done JSON before. JSON actually, you have your curly braces that act as objects. So inside the curly braces, there will be different fields and their values which act as the objects. And then you have your for list of objects, you have your square bracket. So your various objects will be inside a square bracket. It could also be a list of IDs or a list of strings and things like that. They would be inside a square bracket this way. So so it has inserted two. These are their IDs, and now I should have three users in my collection. And again, I can always query. Let's take I want to query by location. Sorry, db.users.find. I'm looking for somebody that his location is the US. Sorry. What did I do again? db.users.find. Location. Losing its shell for the first time. So, missing after arguments. Oh, sorry, apologies. You have it as a document in like this. I'm looking for a document that has its location set as US. So that brings back Kanye. Okay. I'll briefly look through setting up on briefly look through setting up. Okay, so we have indexes. Index is a way to arrange your data for easy querying, for easy selection. It's both in MySQL, it's both in SQL and NoSQL. So what it does is that you pick fields that you know that there will be high level of querying on. For instance, in our own case, users, we've been querying by name. So we look to arrange those, we look to index the name field so that the database arranges it in a particular order. It could be alphabetical order. It will be in alphabetical order, of course. You can set it that it should arrange it maybe ascending or descending. What this helps you to do is that when you do a query, let's take for instance now I index the field. Where is my? I index the field name. Now, when I do a query, let's assume I have 500 names. When I do a query, it's able to, on initial check, let's say Kanye, for instance, it goes with Kanye. It checks at the middle of it. It finds that that middle, the object in that middle, the name is actually higher in position than in alphabetical order position than Kanye. He knows that everybody before that, or rather everybody after that, is going to be bigger. Okay, take for instance now, we have 26 names, each of them starting from the various alphabets A to Z. I'm looking for Kanye. Because it's ordered in alphabetical order, it's easy for me to know what position I can go and search through, and I will definitely find Kanye in. I can go to the position between of K, where all the names start from K. That will reduce the number of items I have to search drastically, and then my search is way faster. This can work for both names, it can work for age, it can work for basically it can work for numbers, it can work for text, it can work for time as well. You can easily say, okay, everything that happened today, because it's already ordered in a particular order, the database knows which portion to go search for this for, and it will find it easier. This is what index does for us. Index helps us to arrange, it arranges it creates a separate data set, arranged, having this particular column arranged in either ascending order or descending order. So for us to create indexes, we have single index and we have compound index. Single index, basically you are indexing just a single field. Compound index, you are indexing multiple fields. In the case of compound index, it first searches the name. Once it has found the name, within that name, it now looks for people within a particular, take for instance the one we have here now, we said index on name and age. Sorry. Index on name and age. So it first find where the name is located. Once it has found that, everybody within that name now finds the age. The age is there, also sorted in a particular order. When we are creating an index, we have the column name or the field name in the case of MongoDB, and you have -1 or 1. -1 means descending order, 1 means ascending order. Yeah. So let's create a single index. Although we don't have much data in our DB, so it would actually be, it would be efficiency because of it won't be noticeable that easily. Let's create index. Um, so we have name, right? Let's do for name, and we want it to be in ascending order. So now it has created an index. Initially, it had the single index before. There's always an index on the ID, right? So now it has created an additional index. So that's why it says number of indexes before is 1, which was the index on the ID. and the number of indexes after is 2, which is the index that we just created on name. So now if we actually searching by name, we'll have a way faster query, especially when our data is huge. You would find the effects faster in that way. Okay, so that's it for indexing. Setting up on our Node.js application. So we already have a bit experience in setting up Node, I suppose. The first part is to install the MongoDB module itself, which you enter npm install module. Sorry, npm install MongoDB. The next part is for us to import the MongoDB client itself. So it creates a constant Mongo client which requires the MongoDB we have just installed. Then our connection URI. Uh, let's assume we are using Atlas. So MongoDB plus SRV is actually speaking to what it's going to use to stock what's what do you call it now? How it's going to speak to the URL you're going to have here. For instance HTTP. The protocol is going to use to speak to this URL. HTTP, for instance, HTTPS. In this case, it's MongoDB that is the protocol. MongoDB owns the protocol we are using. Username colon your password at this is the URL of your MongoDB. If you install the MongoDB directly on your system with the initial instruction reset of whether you're installing on Windows or MacBook or Linux, it will be localhost because you are calling it on your local host. Then these are um, additional fields to assist in your rights on this database. Okay, so then you create your Mongo client. So this is actually the script to set it up, your main script that sets up your MongoDB. And with this, you have your client set up, and then you can start writing. You can use this client now to do all the queries we've been doing, like client dot client dot db dot users dot count and so on, creating your collection and continuing in that manner. After you have initiated your connection and you have this database is just to make sure that the DB is actually working properly. So it just leaves the databases connected to it. And then when it's done, we do a client dot close. Yeah. Any questions? Any questions? Thank you very much. Hello.
Okay. Hi, Abdul. I can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay, I
any
think someone was
questions? Thank you.
asking if you could share the link. All right,
Yeah, I can
thank
share
you
with
too.
you.
Someone was asking for this.
Oh, my apologies. Increase the video
All right.
quality. Okay, I'll share the whole document, the what I just used for the presentation. I'll share it with Amaka, and she'll share it with everyone. So the links are there. Also, the shell that's been. Let me just drop the shell link here. So this is like a playground for you to test your hand in MongoDB. How do I drop a comment here? It's like everyone can drop comments except me. Okay, I'll just add it to the
Oh, okay.
document.
You can drop it in the
I'll,
chat. I'll move it.
okay, on private chat. Okay, okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll also add it to the presentation slide so that when once anyone have to get their hands on it, they can. Okay, so I think maybe because education is not a field, a
Oh, all right.
collection. Okay, she was responding to my this thing, to the comment section. Sorry if you have questions. Okay. So any
So
additional
guys, if you
question?
have questions, go ahead and question in the chat.
And yes, you can insert many. I think at the end I did that. Okay. Any other question? Okay.
Um, so hello, any questions? Guys, if you have questions, please go ahead and ask. Hello, guys, if you have questions, please. Hello, can anyone hear me? Okay, Abdul Gafar, you have one question here. It's on the screen right now.
Okay. When you were trying to update, you specify the query
Can
parameter
you hear
set
me?
must.
Question.
Yes, yes. When you were trying to update, when you trying to update, you specify the query parameter and the set. What are these? Okay, I came across push and pull. So the last set is basically a command with MongoDB. It's basically a command with MongoDB to say that okay, you want to set these particular values to the already existing document. And what's the learning path for further studies? Okay, I think the first part is on this. I don't know what your hands-on experience is with other databases. So typically, you would want to have a reason why you're using either database in a properly structured environment where for instance, users having a user table. I would typically use a structured query, a structured database to store users. Why? Because the user would have specific things, the name, there will be certain things you would want every user to have, right? So the first part is trying to understand reasons why you use an SQL or you use a NoSQL, whether the NoSQL is Redis or it's MongoDB, having those details. Then, of course, you know how to update, how to insert, how to do all that. Uh, Now, how to deal with node clusters in MongoDB, because MongoDB is primarily for very heavy work when your database, when your rate at which you check for data on your database is quite high. Things like your AIs would mostly use MongoDB to store previous this thing implementations like ChatGPT and the likes. They would use MongoDB to store your details so that they can easily iterate through it. It's the speed of iteration is quite high. Now, to make it more efficient, they spread it across different nodes, and when they need to query, they know which node to go into. So a typical place where you would use to expand your knowledge in this is how to have multiple nodes, multiple clusters in MongoDB. You have to deal with multiple clusters, and that will help in managing loads whenever you're implementing uh, very heavy solutions. Of course, building applications with MongoDB comes into play. I'm sure you already started working on Node.js. You'd want to connect it to a database. So being able to connect your Node.js to your MongoDB, being able to perform various operations as the solution demands. Of course, most of them are still going to be select, update, delete, and insert. But being able to play around all of them and use it to build an actual solution. It could be a web solution, it could be an AI solution, as I mentioned before, and so on. So those are the paths you look to follow through to improve on your Mongo that you need to improve on your MongoDB on and use it to expand your software engineering career. Yeah. Don't know if I answered your question or if you have how you know which kind of database to use, either NoSQL or SQL. Can you specify use cases? Okay. Um, let's take for instance, let me see. Of course, it depends on the requirements of your application. If your application requires strict consistency, take for instance these users we're just talking about. A user would all you there are certain details you want a user to always provide. In that case, a you would want to use SQL. A user should have a first name, he should have a last name, he should have an age. Depending on your application, he should have an age, he should have a location, address, maybe if it's a school solution, maybe he should have a class, maybe a class should have a teacher. These are specific details that would come with every object. So it would be preferable for you to have it structured and follow the SQL. However, if you are dealing with large amounts of unstructured data, take for instance medical data. This one comes, he has an eye problem. This is the details of the eye problem. This other one has a heart problem. These are the details of the heart problem. This other person has maybe he has a history of diabetes, but now he's well. The the data is quite all over. I can easily use document and say, okay, this user diseases, I have a list of diseases under there. For each disease, I have a specific items I state. Okay, for this disease, start time, end time. Some might not have end time. Some might have a terminal. Some might be terminal. Terminal might be true. Uh, Another one might not have anything regarding terminal. Some might have. Okay, I'm not into the medical field per se, but I don't know if you understand where I'm going towards. Like there are a lot of data involved and they are all over the place. They are not structured in a particular way. And again, with this kind of this thing, MongoDB is typically used for when you're dealing with heavy, very heavy data because it's quite fast. It's way faster than your SQL and your SQL this thing because of the fact that just the ID alone can redirect you to that node and you get all the details you want for a particular object. So yeah, any other question?
Okay,
How
I
will you
think
know?
there's one more question. Yeah.
That was the how will you know which kind of database to use?
All right. Okay, I think that's the last question. So please, guys, if you have more questions, please you can just drop it so your instructor can take more questions. But if you
I think
understand, you can just drop it
that
on
means
the
best
comment.
with SQL. Okay, as a backend engineer, well, you won't be bothered to learn all of them at the same time. Typically, you learn based on demand. But I think you should learn reasons why you would use a particular. What are the advantages of one over the other, so that when you actually have a solution to develop, you can easily pick which one would be best fit for that solution. That would be my advice. Take me for instance. I've even in the SQL there are different types of structured query language. There is MySQL, there is SQL Server, there is Postgre. I myself have hardly used Postgre. Why? Because most of my I've worked for fintechs a whole lot, banks and the likes, and banks are kind of inclined to SQL Server, which is owned by Microsoft. Well, because most of their suites are in Microsoft, so I've been confined into using uh, MS SQL, that's SQL Server. So, of course, based on demand, based on the environment you find yourself, you might end up learning one over the other. But as an engineer, you should know their advantages over the advantages over each other, so that even if someone is trying to force you into using a particular one, or if you have no choice but to use a particular one, at least you know what to advise that person on why you should be using this other one over the other. Zedek, it looks like you're on fire today. You have any additional question?
Okay, yes. There's a question. It's being displayed on the screen, so you can take that.
As a backend engineer to be efficient, right? Because that was what I just answered.
All right, I think that is the last question. Abdul Gafar, sorry if I didn't get the pronunciation well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Okay, so guys, please, if you have more questions, please you can just drop it on the comment section if you have more questions. But I think for now we do not have any question. So please, everyone, please make sure we follow our instructor on LinkedIn. I think we'll make that available at Abdul Gafar. Sorry, I'm not pronouncing the name well. Apologies for that.
I think my LinkedIn is actually a bit different. It's just Abdul Ubeito.
Okay, all right. So we're going to make that available. And also, please, you can reach out to him on LinkedIn. Or are you also on Twitter, Abdul?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we'll reach out to you and we're going to make that available. So guys, please make sure you connect. And if you want to reach out to him personally, you can reach out to him via LinkedIn or on Twitter. And also, please, for everyone currently here watching either on Twitch or on YouTube, we have a Q&A session tomorrow for the backend track by 9 p.m. on our Discord community. So that is all for today. So thank you so much, Abdul Gafar. Thank you so much for today's class and bye everyone. Thank you so
Uh,
much.
Thanks for having me. And all right, bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you.